Really? I was gone 30 seconds. We're going to look at the top 5 mods to help you win more games. Before we get to number 1, I just want to remind you that I do stream on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday evening. So if you have any questions regarding these mods or any of the other mods that I run, you can pop on over there and ask me in chat. The first mod is probably the most innocuous looking, but it's also the mod that I feel the most handicapped when it's missing. Mod number 1 is Show Enemy Spotted on the player panel. Let's look at it in game. The player panels are the list of tanks on the top left and the top right. This mod uses the enemy player panel and displays a green icon next to vehicles that are actively spotted, a red icon next to vehicles that have been spotted, and most importantly, no icons next to any vehicles that haven't been spotted yet. If we shift our attention down to the minimap, we can see how this information can be used. We can see that there's currently an unspotted Badger and an unspotted FV215B 183, and with this information, we can make educated guesses as to where they are on the minimap. My first inclination would be that they are at F1, or they could possibly be at D2. There's also 2 artillery pieces that are unspotted, more than likely somewhere between A1 and E1, or possibly A2. The last vehicle that's not been spotted yet is the Manticore. Let me ask you, where do you think the Manticore is? In this battle, I thought the Manticore was probably either at F5, or possibly working somewhere in the AB line in the north. The mod isn't actually giving you any additional information you don't already have in the battle, but it is taking the information that is available and making it faster and easier to digest. The minimap tells me where every enemy tank is currently spotted and where every enemy tank was last spotted. I can then glance at the player panel and see immediately which vehicles haven't been spotted, and then I can use that information and place them into the 1 to 3 most likely places that they are on the minimap. With this complete picture of how the battle is unfolding, I can then decide and make a play that puts my vehicle in the most advantageous location on the map. Before we move on to mod number 2, you may have noticed that I use alternate contour icons on the player panel. This is because in the vanilla client, it's really difficult for me to tell the difference between the different vehicle types. With these modified contour icons, it's very easy for me to tell the difference between artillery, heavy tanks, tank destroyers, medium tanks, and light tanks. Mod number 2 is the minimum spot circle. If you didn't already know, your vehicle has a minimum spot cylinder. This means from the center of your vehicle to 50 meters out and all the way around and extending above and below is a minimum spot radius. Any enemy vehicle that enters this minimum spot radius will automatically be spotted regardless of camouflage or line of sight. Let's take a look in game. In this match on mines, I'm trying to provide the tank destroyers in my base with targets to shoot at. I'm pushing my vehicle as far against this mountain ledge as possible in order to maximize the minimum spot radius of my vehicle to try and spot the Type 59 and ISU 152 that are up on the hill. This minimum spot circle is really helpful to have on the minimap for many reasons. To name just a couple, it can tell me how far my vision extends into areas that I don't have direct line of sight. It can also tell me how far I need to get away from an enemy in order to go dark. It can also tell me how close I can get to an enemy position before I enter the enemy's minimum spot distance. While we're on the subject of minimaps, let's go back to the game real quick. One other mod that I run that's extremely helpful is when I press the Alt key. When I do this, it pulls up a little circle around every tank, and this circle represents the remaining hit points of that vehicle. Now you have to keep in mind that this only shows the last spotted hit points of that vehicle, so any vehicle that's taken damage blind will not show up here. This is especially helpful when you are one of the last tanks remaining and you have to make decisions on whether you can 1v1 an enemy tank. Knowing that they are at full hit points or a one shot can make all the difference. Mod number 3 is the zoom out mod. This allows me to take the camera and pull it even further away from my vehicle to give me a better perspective of the battlefield. And while the value of this mod may not be immediately apparent, I've got a great clip that can help illustrate why this is so useful. In this match on Angst, I'm approaching the heavy brawling area to try and get some damage on the T10 and the IS-3. My first use of the zoom out mod is to determine if the STR-VS1 has line of sight and if I can approach the IS-3 and T10 safely. With the zoom out mod, I'm able to see that yes, there is a clean path to get there without being spotted by the STR-VS1. My next use of the zoom out mod is to determine where the T10 and the IS-3 are looking. I know at this point my vehicle is still dark and the T10 and the IS-3 are not expecting me to appear here. Now that I can see that neither of them are pre-aimed in this location, I know I can safely kill the T10 without receiving any damage in return. I fast forwarded a couple of moments so that you can see a second use of the zoom out mod. Here we can see the STR-VS1 is facing into the square. This means if I go around the outside, I should be able to shoot him without taking any damage in return. The STR-V has actually realized the play I was making, but was unable to react quick enough. Here, yet again, I'm still using the same third-person camera to determine if the 50 TP is turning to look my direction, which he is not. The zoom out mod is useful in many scenarios, but a majority of its utility is in providing you the information of where an enemy vehicle is looking before you are in front of that enemy vehicle's gun. Mod number 4, the WoT Reticle mod. After seeing fellow community contributor Nick Shocks running this mod, I quickly adopted it. The high contrast of the white makes it much easier to see your reticle against the enemy tanks in a battle. But more specifically, if we reference how I use the battle hits settings along with the diagonal reticle to line up blind shots, and you'll see here that it is much easier to line up these shots with the high contrast that the WoT Reticle provides. Before we move off of the reticle modifications, I do want to add on a little addendum of the server reticle mod that I use in the game. The way that I have my modification set up is it takes the server reticle and places it on top of the existing reticle at half the size in blue. This helps in two ways. The first, it enables me to see how much of the server is lagging behind my active aim, but also at being half the size, and because I know that the distribution of shells within the aiming circle is a normal distribution, and half of the size means that roughly 68% of all of my shells should fall within the size of the server reticle. Every second that you wait for the server reticle to settle is another second away from your DPM and another second that you're exposed to the enemy. I use the server reticle as a compromise. If I can assume that there's a 68% chance that my shell will fall within the server reticle, I can then make the call in the battle to take the shot early, knowing there's roughly a 32% chance that I'll just miss, and that's an acceptable risk in that instance. Number 5, Battle Hits Viewer and Armor Inspector. How often have you been in a battle and wondered, critical hit, no damage? How's that even possible? Or on the other side of it, how did he pen me? All of my best armor was facing him. These mods combine to help you answer both of those questions. Let's go into the garage. From inside the garage, on the bottom right hand corner, you'll see these two little intersecting diamonds. You click that, and you click Battle Hits Viewer. On the right hand side, you can select all of your different battles. And on the left hand side is a list of every single shell that hit an enemy tank. And in the top, if you select me, this will be a list of every shell that struck you. We can see the M53 damaged me by hitting my track wheel, and we can see the Super Conqueror penned my lower plate here. If you're browsing the Battle Hits viewer and run into a shot such as this one, where you're confused why your shell did not penetrate, this is where we can use the second half of the mods that I listed. To get there, we close out of this mod, we head on over to the tech tree, we right-click on the E100, and we click Preview Vehicle. On the left-hand side, you'll see Overview, Modules, Crew, and a new Russian word. You click on the Russian word. Unfortunately, this full mod is in Russian, but you can still get the general gist of it. We can see when we hover our mouse over this area that the impacted armor is incredibly high, and that if we wanted to be successful in this penetration, we actually had to aim a little bit further to the right, where penetrating would have been relatively easy. These mods will help you understand where you failed to penetrate an enemy vehicle, and they'll also help you understand where you failed to block incoming fire. You can use this information to build strategies to help you in every match you play in the future. Alright, you made it to the bonus round. We've got one more mod I want to talk about that falls outside of my top 5 list because it's more of a quality of life mod than anything else. That's the Mark of Excellence Extended modification. This mod will show you an active progress of your Mark of Excellence in battle. This can be really helpful to those players that are chasing down those 2 and 3 marks, and they're getting really close, and they want to know how close they are in the middle of a match. All of these mods are located in Aslains mod pack. You can find this mod pack by going to wgmods.net. All of the mods that you find on this website are all screened by Wargaming to make sure they are legal within the game. If you'd like to set up Aslains mod pack with all of these mods and all of the other mods that I run, in the description will be a link to another video that shows you just how to set that up. If you found this video helpful, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel for more great content in the future. If I missed a mod, or if there's another mod that you suggest I should give a try, let me know in the comments or drop on over to my Twitch channel where I stream live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And that's my top 5 mods to help you win more games in World of Tanks.